Well, joining us now from New York is former Australian Prime Minister of the Policy Institute, Kevin Rudd. Mr. Rudd, thanks so much for joining us here on the program again. There's a lot of speculation about what the chemistry might be like between these two leaders. Are we going to expect some kind of, power play right from the very beginning?
I'm not so sure about that. I think President Xi will come to the meeting respectful of the fact that he's dealing with a elected president of the United States, and particularly a president who won office despite the odds. And at the same time, President Trump has a view that he's dealing with a Chinese president who runs either the largest or second largest economy in the world, depending on your measure, and that it's going to be important to be able to see if they can strike some deals on trade and the other big agenda item, North Korea.
It was fascinating, actually, in the Financial Times piece you wrote a couple of days ago. You spoke about the Chinese having admiration and respect for Trump because of the way he went about winning this election.
Well, the Chinese are very much foreign policy and political practice. They understand the nature of politics, even in the West. And so I think there is some deep Chinese respect for the fact that he's elected as president of the most powerful country on earth. That's the USA, and secondly, that he won against the odds. So I think there'll be a deep interest on President Xi's part to understand where President Xi's policy instincts are coming from and what sort of political constituency enabled him to be elected. I think that's China's sort of a baseline view, but on top of that, of course, there are very large policy differences between these two countries and these two presidents. But I think it starts from a perspective of some reasonable degree of mutual respect.
Donald Trump doesn't yet have a China strategy. So is it also about President Xi getting in there and building that relationship before he does? Well,
when President Xi was first elected, I, together with others, strongly recommended to President Obama that there be an early meeting between President Obama and newly elected or newly appointed President Xi Jinping of China, for the simple reason that establishing a personal and institutional link between the heads of state and heads of government is really important, which is, it's early in President Trump's term, it's within his 100 days. He's already had a successful meeting with Shinzo Abe of Japan down at Mar-a-Lago, and now the same courtesy has been extended to President Xi Jinping of China. So the key thing is what personal and institutional links are able to be opened up that then do the real business and what will always be a difficult relationship.
Indeed, because there are very important issues on the table: trade, North Korea, the South China Sea.
Well, that's true. If you go to the trade question alone, and people around the world will be focused on this in particular, we all know where President Trump's come from in terms of his attitude to trade in general. We've seen what he's done in relation to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. We know what attitude he brings to bear in terms of the size of the Chinese-American trade deficit, something in the order of about $350 billion deficit to China's advantage. And so there will be a high degree of focus on tariff, non-tariff barriers, as well as other forms by which the trade deficit could be narrowed. The rest of Asia will be looking very carefully at whether any bilateral deal struck between the Chinese and the United States actually is also to the disadvantage of third countries. That's on the trade side. Well, on North Korea, it's a different level of complexity.
Indeed. Kevin Rudd, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be watching the meeting very closely.